Welcome back. I'm Kyle Huckins, and this is actually going to be Huckins on literature. I know I haven't done a book review in ages. Of course, it's film related. It's So Bad It's Good by Edward Scammia. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right if you see this, sir. If I'm mangling it, I apologize. And it's got a foreword written by Alison Pregler. You may know her better as the internet reviewer Obscurus Lupa. If you don't, you need to do something about that. Because she is easily one of the internet's most foremost authorities on bad movies. Did I just say most foremost? Ooh, he card read good. Me feel English? That's impossible. Anyway, she did a brief foreword for the book. That's how I first heard about it. It's like, book about bad movies. Well, I've already got a bunch of them. What's one more? So I picked it up. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. About 50 movies crammed in here. And it's not a history of bad movies per se. I mean, it does start with an introduction that's about the example of the bad movie Plan 9 from Outer Space. Which, if you've not seen it, it's quite bad. It's... Seriously, it makes The Room look like Casablanca. There's a sentence you don't hear too often. It's, wow. It's not good. And much like my previous book review, Swedish Sensations films, it basically lists the movie, gives a brief synopsis of it. But with most of them, it also has a little checklist of notably terrible things to look for. And that was one thing I didn't like, was these checklists got shorter and shorter as they got into more and more movies. Honestly, that's my biggest problem with this book as a whole. It's too short. Seriously, I tore through it in like an hour and a half myself. I'm a very fast reader, but it's far too short for my liking. I would have liked to have seen either more films or more attention paid to the ones that were picked. That said, I think one of the highest praises you can pay something is when you criticize it for just, it could have been longer. To me, that's a very welcome criticism. Because, yeah, like I said, it's 143 pages. I just tore through it like that. And also, obviously, it's not the heaviest rating. It's talking about The Room and Birdemic. Now, the chapters themselves are what I like about it. Because you can't really do a chronology of the bad movie. Because there's really no unifying principle behind bad movies other than just they're bad. Bad isn't really a genre unto itself. Maybe it should be, but that's not a discussion for right now. So, he has to group them by genre. And at first he starts off with just some of the high points of bad film, like The Room, Birdemic, Gymkata. There's a chapter in here of movies that were on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Okay, if you're going to look for bad movies, there's a good place to look. Although I'm kind of a little mad there's no Coleman Francis in here. Granted, the Beast of Yucca Flats is more of an endurance test without Mike and the bots, but still. There's also war movies, martial arts films, sports movies, which is the most bizarre chapter in this. Because the movies he picks aren't. Yeah, I mean, the most controversial one is Rocky IV, which isn't something most people think of as a bad movie. I don't think of it as a bad movie. On the other hand, in its own way, it's one of the most batshit things ever filmed. I mean, seriously, it has Stallone beating the crap out of Dolph Lundgren and ending the Cold War. And owning a robot. Clearly a crack pipe was used in the making of this film at some point. I'm not knocking that. Hey, if somebody being on drugs is going to lead to a good movie, I'm buying. Because I'm Kyle Huckins, terrible person. I would say for the most part, it's not a bad movie. It just there are those moments of, what? This got a little off the rails. There's also a very brief chapter in here about the worst animated Titanic films ever. Both of them. Yeah. It's one of those, even the author admitted, yeah, I didn't know where else to put these, but they had to be in the book. Okay. I will not protest. I'm reading the synopses, they did sound pretty bad. Like I said, I wish it was longer, more in-depth. But it's a pretty good skimming of the surface of bad movies. And if you're the sort of person you like to get together with some friends and just watch a really bad movie and crack on it all night, a lot of very good recommendations in here. So, I definitely recommend checking this one out. This is Kyle Huckins for Huckins on Literature. Fucking off.